Hey guys, my name is Mannequin, and today I'm doing a little bit of a video to show you guys how to set up live streaming. Live streaming is a great way to get engaged with your audience, however you want to do it. In my case, because you know what this YouTube channel is about, it's about EDM production and stuff like that. So, live streaming is one of the cool things you could do. Where you live stream is up to you. I'm not going to actually talk about specifics in regards to that. But I'm going to show you the basics about setting up a live stream. So the first thing you want to do is go into testmy.net/upload. So a lot of people use speedtest.net to check their speeds to make sure that they're good for streaming, but there's some reasons why you should just try testmy.net. Mostly because this one checks the stability of your network and not just like the peak speed. So what we're going to do is we're just going to click test upload speed here. And we're going to hope that our upload speed is greater than 3.5 megabits per second. Because if it's not, we're going to have a little bit of trouble streaming. Okay, so our upload speed right now is 3.8. Sometimes mine is actually kind of nice and it's a little bit higher than that. I could retest it. I'm not going to do that right now. But just want to say, you're looking to have an upload speed of greater than 3.5. That is the ideal number. So if you have less than that, you're probably going to have trouble streaming. And most of the time, I actually get around 5 megabits per second upload. Sometimes it goes up to 6 or 8. But regardless, this is decent enough to start streaming on. So you just got to know that beforehand because it'll really help you with the troubleshooting process because live streaming is a lot of troubleshooting. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to Open Broadcast Software and download this. So it's obsproject.com. Download OBS Studio. And then you'll basically go through the installation process. We have OS X here, OS 10 technically. Actually, it's macOS now, thanks to all the changing of names. And we have this downloaded right about now. I'm just gonna open it and kind of show you the basics of clicking through the installer because some people are paranoid about that. Whoops, clicked the wrong button there. So it's gonna mount a disk image here. And we have this package, and we just have to click through it and install it. So you just go continue, and select where you want to install it. So in my case, when it finally finishes analyzing the disks, it'll let me install this one. And we could customize it, but we really don't need to. OBS siphon inject to OBS browser install. You definitely want the browser. You definitely want OBS. Browser will let you do some cool things like notifications whenever you have subscribers and things like that. So we're just going to go back to standard install, let it do that, and you click install. I already have it installed, though, so we're not going to worry about that so much. So I'm going to quit that installer. Just saves a little bit of time. And I know this isn't going to be a fresh install, but it's actually kind of going to be good in that regard. So I'm pulling up OBS right now, and we're going to look at some of the important settings for getting this to start up. And I'm also going to show you kind of the things you can do with OBS. And in case you're wondering, OBS is pretty much the de facto standard when it comes to streaming. So if you feel uncertain about if you're using the right software, if you're using the best software, just consider the fact that OBS is pretty much the #1 option, whether you're streaming for games or streaming for other things. So you have OBS here, and it's not going to look like this when you pop it up. This is what I've kind of set up. So I have what you're probably going to get is you're probably going to have this blank scene. It's called like scene 1 or something, and it's not going to have any sources. So scenes are basically things you could swap through. So I have my intro here, my outro here, my main scene here, which is what you guys are used to seeing. And then I have a technical difficulty screen in case I run into issues, and I have my face. It's just like, hi, I have like this really big image in case I ever want to use that, which I usually don't. So we have this scene 1 right here, and what we're going to do is just add a source. Most of you guys are probably just going to want to start out with this thing called display capture. And you could create a new display capture here, make source visible, yes. Doesn't matter what you name it. And then you get to choose your display. I have 2 displays, so it has 0 and 1. Right now you're just seeing 0. Crop, none, show cursor, yes. Great. Cool things there. And then we get this display capture. This is basically what you're going to see. Now, you can see right now, because I have a 1440p screen, it is not fitting my current setting size, but we'll worry about that in a minute. For now, what I could just do is click transform and then fit to screen, and then it'll just scale it down so it'll fit. So that's the general setup there, and that kind of echo thing that's happening is because we're recording a recording of a recording of a recording of a recording, and so on and so forth. So that's why you get that. Normally, though, you'll have this kind of in the background, and it won't be an issue, and it'll look, people will just be seeing this sort of thing. Right now, You're not seeing the exact feed of this because I am recording with QuickTime Player just to make it so that you guys could actually see what's going on in regards to OBS. So anyway, we have this up and we're like, okay, I think I'm ready to stream. You click start streaming and nothing happens. Well, that's because we need to set up some other things here. So what we got to do is we got to go, whoops, that was the wrong button. I meant to hit settings. I have no idea. Whoops, wrong button. I'm clicking all the wrong things. Here we go. We're actually going to need system preferences later, kind of, sort of in a way, but that's later. So anyway, we go to settings here. And these settings are kind of up to your personal preference, not so much, of a thing you need to tweak to get things started. So you need to go down to stream, though, and this is where you're going to choose where you're streaming to. So in my case, I stream to YouTube. I strongly suggest you do as well because YouTube, you're going to get a lot larger potential viewer base. Twitch, there's a lot of competition for streaming. And as a producer, it's going to be very hard for people to find your content on Twitch. However, if you post music to YouTube and you post your regular content to YouTube, if you stream to YouTube as well, all the people that follow you or subscribe to you on YouTube are going to catch that immediately. So I strongly suggest, as a producer, you stream to YouTube. And when you do that, you're going to have this little panel. If you go to your YouTube dashboard, let me pull this up. And I'm going to try to keep things from getting a bit too messy. There's a tab on your dashboard. Hopefully you know how to get there. If you don't, you should be able to find it really easily. There's a tab that says live streaming. And it looks a little bit like, hold on, I'm pulling it up on my second monitor here. It'll look a little bit like this. Here we go. So this is your dashboard. The window's kind of shrunk down because it's a little bit of a... I have a small screen on the other side, so this is what it looks like. And you get to choose some of your options here, and you'll have server URL, which you don't need to put in because we get to choose the server settings there. So that's easily already done for us. And then there's this stream name /key. You need to click reveal, and then you copy that into your stream key here. And from there, you could actually start streaming. However, you'll probably run into a lot of issues. And the reason is because we need to go into output and change some of our encoding settings. So right here is the bit rate. I have set mine to 3,500. That is pretty much what everybody should be running. If your internet's kind of slow, you could bring this down to 3,000 or 2,500, depending on what settings you have. But then it's not going to be optimal in terms of your visual quality. So as I was saying, 3,500 is the best one if your internet can handle that, and it'll make your setup a lot easier. So you just set this to CBR, specifically that's constant bit rate, and then you set this to 3,500, and both YouTube and Twitch support this bit rate, so you won't have any problems there as long as your internet can handle it. And you just set your keyframe interval to 2 here. 0 is auto, but I've run into issues running it with auto, so I set it to 2 manually. CPU usage preset. This is the one where you start to tweak things. So as we start streaming, you'll notice there's this thing down here that says dropped frames. It'll appear when we start streaming or start recording. And if you start to see that number go up on a regular basis, you need to change this from very fast to super fast or ultra fast. Basically, higher is worse quality, but lower CPU usage. Lower is better quality, but much more CPU usage. So if you're running into stuttering, bring it up. Otherwise, just leave it at very fast. Very fast is their default setting, and they strongly suggest you do not change it from that. But if you have stuttering because OBS is taking up a lot of resources and it can't stream consistently, then you need to turn that up. Now, I strongly suggest you check your stream on a device other than the computer you're streaming on. I usually run my iPad to check my stream and make sure everything's working fine, but you could use whatever you want. I just strongly suggest you don't use your primary computer that you're streaming with. So these are the 1, 2, 3, 4 settings you need to look at, and they're pretty much all that matters. If you want to do recording, you'll probably need different settings because in my case, I just use Stream Encoder for this one because I don't really record with OBS on my Mac so much anymore. However, if I was recording, I'd probably change this so I could get a little bit better quality out of the recordings because you do end up with a little bit of lower quality recordings if you just use the streaming settings. So streaming just has to be lower quality because your internet can't handle like maximal quality video. It's just too much. So that's our basic output. Now, one of the things you might have noticed as well is if you go to audio, you probably might have noticed that you're only getting audio from your microphone. You're not actually getting audio from the desktop. Now, if I play this back here, it's the same thing that I'm getting with QuickTime Player. You're not going to hear any audio. So it's playing now, and I actually can't hear it through my headphones, which is kind of weird. Oh, that's right. That's because I have the mixer set to, so I can't hear it. But anyway, that's just my audio interface. But you won't be able to hear that either from your streams. Like if you're watching your stream, you'll only be able to hear the microphone input, not actually the desktop audio. We're going to address that in a second here. But first, I just want to kind of tell you how this works. So we have desktop audio device and microphone device. On Windows, you'll be able to change this to whatever desktop audio device you want. So it'll capture the output of whatever output device you want. So like if you have an audio interface and then just your regular default output, you'll get to choose that on Windows. Similar here, it basically looks like this. So we have our microphones, which are the default ones. So that's the default one, whatever you have it set to in your preferences. Then you have built-in input, line input, all these different things. The unknown USB audio device is my camera. And then this is my audio interface. So right now I have the microphone running straight from my audio interface. That's why you could see the microphone input coming in through the microphone/aux. So that you'll want to enable your primary microphone here. That's going to be the easy part, and you'll get sound that way if you're not already getting sound. However, we need desktop audio, and that's going to be another step here. So we're going to close out of this, and then we're going to download this thing called iShowU. Just type in iShowU in Google. It's going to be installing iShowU audio capture, not iShowU, the audio capture specifically. So you're going to download this, and you're going to get the iShowU audio capture here. And I actually haven't installed this one, so we're going to install this. And it's just going to install the default one. Let me move this over here. Okay. Let it install. This is what's going to allow us to get our desktop audio capture, in case you didn't catch on there. Give it a second. And hopefully I don't run into any issues with my audio cutting out when this happens. Here we go. Sweet. But what we'll be able to do now is we'll be able to do this neat little thing where, hold up, let me go to, okay, so we have, what we could do now is go into settings, audio, and you'll notice we have a new microphone, which is iShowU audio capture. So we're going to set that right here. And we're going to have two. This is going to be the microphone here, and this is going to be our desktop audio that we're going to hear. Right now, if I play this back, once again, we're probably... Actually, it might work off the bat. I don't think so, though. Nope. So you're not hearing anything here. We're going to address that in just a second. So what we got to do is, I said we were going to use preferences. You can use this with preferences, but it's actually a little bit more complicated than that. So there's a little guide that kind of shows you, what you could just do is go to, let's see this right here. Where am I looking for? We need the audio sound. Here we go. You could just change your output. Instead of my audio interface, I could change this to iShowU audio capture. And then all the audio output through that, let me just do that. We'll do this. So you see now the audio is going through there. So that's kind of good, but the problem is now we won't be able to hear it. So how do we output it through both our speaker and this? This is just kind of like an invisible device that when you send sound into it, it just kind of sends it back as a microphone. So what we're going to do is we're going to open this cool little panel, which is Audio MIDI Setup. And I use this a lot to troubleshoot audio problems. What we could do here now is you see we have iShowU audio capture, and then we have our regular output for our audio interface. So 2 out, 2 out. And what we could do is we could create a multi-output device. And this will allow us to output audio through both our audio interface and iShowU. So now we could hear it and the stream could hear it. That's the difference here. So, and then right now what we're going to do is go back to output, and we could change this to our multi-output device, which is an aggregate device here. Rename this, Come on, let me rename it to streaming output. There we go. So we got our streaming output now. And if I go back to sound, streaming output, aggregate device. Now, if I change my own preferences, so I should be able to hear things. Okay. Now what should happen is, if I play this back, I can now hear it and it's going through here. So that's basically what we need there. And I don't think there's any other steps to get audio working properly. Sounds about right. So that's pretty much all you'll need to set up the sound. There are a few other things you'll need to tweak, and I'll show you those right now. So we have our sound set up. So we got both audio from our desktop, which is mic aux 2. I don't know if we could rename this. No, we can't, unfortunately. Okay, actually, there's some other things we'll need to address as well, but we'll worry about that in a minute. So we now have our two audio devices. Go back into settings here. Our audio is all resolved because we have this and this. You want to make sure that you do it this way. You don't actually go into your aggregate device that you may have created. Actually, it doesn't show up here because of the way it was created. But just make sure that you have it specifically on your microphone and your iShowU audio capture. Have those separate. So we have that. And the final thing is video here. So you want to make sure your base canvas resolution and scaled resolution is 1920 by 1080 and your FPS value is at 30. This is basically your best option. You cannot run at higher resolutions. If you have a Retina screen, it's just not going to work because you cannot stream higher resolutions than 1080p in this day and age. So 1920 by 1080 and 30 output. If you have a smaller screen like 1366 by 768, then you could set this to 1280 by 720, and it should autofill here. So if we do 1280 by 720, and we should actually, it didn't autofill that time. Yeah, it's not going to autofill. But what we could do is set the same thing here, 1280 by 720, and then we should actually have pretty good quality. It'll be a little bit smaller than your default screen resolution, but it's not that big of a deal. It's kind of like a streaming standard. So we use 1280 by 720 as opposed to 1366 by 768. And if you do that, you don't technically need to go back and change your bit rate. It'll just mean that your 720p stream is a little bit clearer 720p than your 1080p stream is, in terms of encoding. So, but that's not something you need to worry about. Just realize that your base and output resolution, as well as your output resolution here, should match it as well. We don't want to rescale output because we just want to leave it at the same, output scaled resolution here. So 1280 by 720. So that's basically it. 1080, actually 1920 by 1080. And then we'll get the same thing here. Sweet. So that's what I do. We have our audio set up. We have our stream encoding set up. And then we have everything else we need set up. So then we just have to hit start streaming, and it'll start streaming. You could go into your YouTube stream panel and change the settings for your stream there. There's a few settings I like to change personally. I'll let you guys know what they are. Let me bring this back up. YouTube dashboard here. Go to live streaming. So actually some very good things you need to know. Let me show you this here. Okay, so you have the title here, description here, whoop-de-doo. Those are great things you could change. So you could schedule the next stream, category, how to install, privacy, public, whatever. So these are just like regular things you're used to seeing on videos. However, in stream options here, you're going to see some new stuff. Let me just move this over here and make sure. Yeah, okay. So you have enable DVR, which I strongly suggest just because there's nothing wrong with it. It allows people to skip back and see stuff like, skip back to the beginning of the stream and stuff like that. Make archive unlisted when complete. So this allows you, do you want to instantly post your stream as soon as you're done streaming, or do you want to have it hidden on your YouTube channel so you could edit a recording you made beforehand or something like that? I usually have this enabled just so I could choose when to post a video. Like, for example, when I do my track critiques, I don't ever post those, so I keep it hidden when I finish streaming, and then I just delete it from the channel. But for my regular streams, I keep it hidden, and then I just post it immediately once I'm done streaming. So that's just kind of up to you, and that's what that does. Stream optimizations here. I have this set for interaction, which means that some people are going to have a little bit hard time viewing the stream because there's more buffering and stuttering. However, what it allows me to do is allows me to better talk to people, as there's only like a 7-second delay or a 14-second delay as opposed to a delay that's much longer than that. So if you don't plan on talking to the people in the stream so often, then click this. Otherwise, if you want to talk to people a lot, click this. So those are your two options there. You get to choose how to prioritize things. Monetization, you should probably know the rules for that if you've been on YouTube before. Basically, if you're doing remixes or content that is otherwise not yours, like playing other tracks back, you need to make sure you have monetization off. Otherwise, you will get copyright strikes. And finally, if you're just doing like your own original stuff, you can have monetization on, assuming you're a partner. So one other thing that I forgot I was going to mention is your microphone here. A lot of us have audio interfaces that have multiple inputs. So if you have a microphone that is a stereo microphone, and they're kind of like linked, like for example, let me show you my interface. What I have here is inputs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if I actually let this go in regularly, as it is right now, it's in multi-track mode. This is actually going to show up as only the left side of the microphone. So you want to check this when you're checking your stream as well. Is your microphone coming out on just the left side? If it is, go on to your mixer here and down mix to mono with your microphone. And what that'll do is it'll make it so it's not only like hard pan to the left. What I could do is I could actually change this interface here to stereo mix mode, which is for streaming, and that's what I've been using lately, but I'm actually switching to iShowU as of this video. And what that'll allow you to do is, I'm kind of confusing things with what I'm doing, what you guys are doing. But anyway, this down mix to mono will allow you to have a stereo audio interface and have it so it's dead center and not have to worry about using this specific thing. Because the reason I had to use this stereo mix mode for streaming was to kind of get this microphone so it wasn't always on the left side. However, there are some caveats that come with that, and it doesn't give you quite as much flexibility in terms of working with that. So I've wanted to switch to this iShowU method, and now I can do that because I can have these things separate. If you only have this thing enabled, where you have both your microphone and your stereo audio from your desktop coming in, you can't downmix to mono because it'll make your desktop audio in mono, and that's not a good thing. So anyway, that's just the last thing I want to mention there. If you have it hard pan to the left, make sure you click that button. That's a TLDR there, which I should have started with. So yeah, that's pretty much what we have. And there are some other things you could do here. I'm not going to go over them, but you could do cool things like right now I have my logo right here. Then I have some text in the corner. And then outro is pretty much the same thing. I just changed the text in the corner. My main scene here is a little bit more complicated. You guys have seen it. There's a whole bunch of cool things you could do. I have the text over the top right, which is just a scrolling text. You can't see it very well, but when I'm streaming, it actually comes up a lot clearer because it's a lot bigger. Text over video here is just that thing there, which I need to change because that's kind of, over with. And I have my camera. And then I have this mannequin text here, which I could replace with whatever I want eventually. It's not actually ingrained into the overlay. Then what I have is my overlay for the top and my overlay for the bottom. So I could tweak those as much as I want. And then obviously I have the display capture there. So cool stuff you could do with OBS. And hopefully that helps you get it set up and you can actually start streaming. If you want overlays, they're not too difficult to make them look fancy. But if you're not great at graphic design, you could probably get someone to do it for you relatively easy. I just did my own because I kind of like doing that. So, but your mileage may vary in that regard. It's pretty easy to just set up a webcam as well and have it look okay. Hardest part is, let me mute all these. Okay, so we got everything muted, and then I can just turn on my camera. So it's pretty simple there. And you could actually have your camera up without any other overlay. The hardest part is going to be figuring out where to place your image so that it's not covering stuff. That is pretty much every streamer's issue, that they have to decide where they want to put it. And for me, I decided to put it here because if I put it anywhere on the left side, it covers a lot of stuff that I use in Logic. If I put it on the top right, it's a little bit awkward. I could put it up there, but I just don't like to. And then bottom right here is kind of where I decided is probably the best place to put it. So anyway, that's it. There's a lot you could do with OBS. OBS is very powerful. Don't be, don't just because it's free doesn't mean, oops, I accidentally enabled the wrong overlay. Just because it's free doesn't mean that it is crappy or weak or anything like that. Also, one final thing before I go, if you see it in studio mode like this, you probably just want to turn that off so that you can see this one big preview here. So, and that's pretty much all I have to talk about. There's a lot of cool things you could do. As I said, you could add filters, so you could add like a noise gate or gain to your microphone, things like that. And I strongly suggest you also balance audio levels so that your microphone is not being drowned out by the desktop audio. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that was helpful, and I will see you in the next video.